What's up, guys? Today I thought I'd talk about progressive music and why progressive music is just so freaking good. The thing I like about progressive music is that it stems a lot from classical and jazz music. When I was a kid, I was really into classical and jazz music, and that was mainly because of cartoons. And I just remember really loving the visuals that would go on in my head when I would listen to a lot of these types of music. I think just the fact that my introduction to classical and jazz was cartoons like Looney Tunes and what have you, that whole visual connection with the audio really stuck with me, and I just naturally find myself more into progressive music than most other music. And I think it's because of that whole visual that whole mind visual thing that happens when I listen to music. I just think of different sceneries and scenarios in my head when I listen to something that's very story-like, something that's very changing and is always doing something different and evolving. That's one thing I really love about progressive music. Is progressive music better than formulaic music? It just depends on who it's coming from. To be honest, I think I generally get really bored when it comes to just listening to one type of music for quite a long time, so I'll switch it up, and it really makes me appreciate both formulaic music as well as progressive music when I do switch it up. And I think it's always a great thing to be able to just be as open as possible about music and be able to just change your seasons every now and then in order to fully appreciate the music itself. I generally find progressive music to be more interesting, especially as a musician, because my journey as a musician has always been trying to basically outdo myself and trying to move up to each different level as a musician. And I find myself trying to achieve a lot of these goals, and when I finally get there, then I'm like, okay, next goal, next goal, next goal. And I think the fact is that as you progress as a musician, as you progress just in general in life, you get bored of certain things, and I think that boredom is extremely important, because that is an indicator that you should move on to the next thing and just keep finding something new and interesting to listen to grasp, to strive for. And I think when it comes to music, that's a huge thing, because you get bored of playing 4/4 the entire time. You want to switch it up. You're like, wow, there's different rhythms out there other than 4/4. Or if you're playing in the same key, you're like, okay, there's totally crazy modes out there, just different things. There's so many different tools you can use in your music that you just want to share with the world, more or less. You just want to paint with every brush there is, and you go through these phases where you do that, and then you'll notice that it's just too busy, too crazy, and then you want to pull it back. And I think this is a huge part of growing as a musician and just growing as a music enthusiast as well. Just somebody who just loves music. You just find what you like. Your taste refine over the years, and you just come to develop your own style and your own preferences, more or less. I think this is what helps with progressive music, is that it's always something new, it's always something different. You just never know what's behind the next corner. It could be very standard, it could be very wild, crazy apparitions of music, whatever that means. But it's just very unexpected what happens when you listen to progressive music. I think the transition between jazz, classical, and then eventually rock, to me, was video game music. I love video games so much, and the music is just so freaking good. It takes every style known to man and just mixes it together into its own thing. If anything, you could probably call it a bit of a fusion or a hybrid. because at the time when 8-bit and 16-bit video game consoles were out, they couldn't get anything better than just bleeps and bloops. On the Super Nintendo, you can get a bit more of that string sound to it, but not by much. Compared to a real orchestra, it would definitely not sound like a real string section, but video game music for me was huge. And when I went into my teenage years and found standard rock music and really loved that, it really catapulted me to find progressive rock music. And so I found things like Rush and Jethro Tull and Dream Theater eventually, Metallica. There's some people out there that don't feel that Metallica is progressive, but to me, when I first heard And Justice for All and everything was changing, there was so many like 10-minute songs on there. That was huge for me, and I was like, this is so freaking good. I think I mentally took a note. I'm like, this is the type of music I want to freaking write. Just epic, long, cool music. That's what I really liked about And Justice for All. So when I write in my music, I generally just try to visualize in my head, what am I trying to convey, and what sounds cool, what is going to transition to the next part. And to me, the transitions are probably the hardest part of progressive music. Writing a progressive song is I would say about 3 or 4 times harder than writing a standard song, and that's mainly because of the transitions. In a standard song, at most you have about 4 parts. You have a verse, chorus, bridge, ending, intro, whatever, solo, any of those type of parts. And with a progressive song, you can have about 3 or 4 times as much, depending on the length that you want to go with your song and what message you want to send with that song as well. And just that challenge is fun in itself. Just like, how epic can I make this song? How big can I make this song? How dynamic can I make this thing happen? Can I get the lows? Can I get the highs? It's like a big roller coaster ride. That's what I really like about progressive music. It's just, you never know what's going to happen. It's just madhouse craziness. On top of that, listening to progressive music, some of the best musicians play progressive music, and you can really learn so much just by listening to the music. Even if you just play formulaic music, I definitely think there's a real art to formulaic music, but just listening to progressive music and the musicians behind that type of music, you will learn so much from those guys, and it'll just make your art itself even better just by listening. So that's why I like progressive music, and that's why you should listen to it as well. Just try it out. If I would recommend anything to anybody, it would be Dream Theater. Just listen to Dream Theater and see if you like it or not, or Rush 2112. If you're into the older 70s type of music, I would say go Genesis all the way. Freaking amazing artists out there. Progressive music is just, fun and interesting. So you have really nothing to lose by listening to it. Check it out.